Hi everyone, welcome to Flare Fact Fridays. I apologize for my voice. My preschooler brought home something, and here we are. But I did want to launch this Friday video because I didn't want to skip the second week of me doing these. Let's get started. So again, each week I'm going to be going over a certain flare associated with lupus. And so what it is, how it shows up, what might trigger or worsen it, or what we can do to manage it. And as always, if there's a flare that you would like me to discuss, then please let me know. So this week is going to be on hair loss. And for me, while physically it's not great, I think the emotional and like mental toll of this is what it was for me. It seemed a lot harder to get over, like mentally looking at myself in the mirror and things like that, than anything else. So, why do we lose hair while having lupus? The inflammation can target your skin and hair follicles. And so, sometimes it's a temporary side effect of a flare or even a medication. But sometimes, even with discoid lupus, it can actually scar your scalp and things like that from where the hair has been lost, and it will prevent from regrowing in certain areas. So, there's two types of lupus hair loss. There's non scarring, which usually grows back once the inflammation settles or the medication is adjusted. Or there's scarring, which often is caused by discoid lupus on the scalp. Once follicles are damaged, the hair might not regrow. So, as you can see on the left hand side of the screen, is me. That's me in the glasses. Believe it or not, that is when I had the moon face from the steroids. And then, as you can see in the other pictures, really, really thinning of the hair. I did have, thick. It wasn't always long, but I had really thick hair. And so you can see it's thinning. You can see my scalp. You can start to see the sides also, like the short little hairs and everything like that. And then you can see as the hair starts to come back in, it's kind of like a fun little afro thing. I had to kind of just run with it. So yes, definitely headbands and all that kind of stuff. And then so that's just your regular hair loss. That's from medication or like the lupus itself. Fortunately, I did not have any scarring. My hair has since come back in, as you can see, which is wonderful. But looking at these pictures on the right, you can see kind of the discoid lupus. Sorry, I had a coughing fit there for a second. So you can see the discoid lupus. So you can actually see it on the eyebrow there where it's starting to scar up a little bit, and on the scalp. And even unfortunately, that far picture on the right, it's actually like eaten away down under that first layer of skin. And so unfortunately, that's probably going to scar, and you're not going to see hair regrowing in that place. And then the possible triggers, I kind of went over these already, but we'll go into a little more detail. So, being in an active flare can be when you notice like your hair loss. And this is just from the inflammation in that hair follicle. And then there's also environmental triggers, unfortunately, stress, which that's just a common factor with lupus. Also, exposure to UV light. So, lots of sun, very damaging. It can exacerbate those symptoms. Also, the use of corticosteroids, most commonly being used as prednisone. That seems to be the first line of when somebody goes into a flare, or when they're in the hospital or anything like that, they want to give them prednisone. And the lower doses of the prednisone, you don't notice the hair loss as much, but the high doses. So, example for me personally, I was on 80 milligrams of prednisone, and that just tanked my hair. And then there's immunosuppressants like Benlysta, which is an infusion that you can get. And oddly enough, Safnelo is actually a monoclonal antibody. So that one actually does not show the hair loss as much as Benlysta would. And then there's the anti-malarial drugs, which is the most common prescribed medication for lupus. That's that hydroxychloroquine. So unfortunately, all the things to treat lupus are causing the hair loss, which lupus itself causes as well. So we're kind of stuck in that scenario of like, what do we do? So management of this is gentle scalp care, using fragrance-free shampoos, avoiding those harsh treatments like bleaching, super tight braids, any kind of chemicals that you're going to put into your hair, making sure to protect your scalp. Hats, sunscreen are your best friends. Lupus definitely makes your scalp sensitive. I notice my skin gets really sensitive, like right under my eyes, if I'm out in the sun too long. So imagine with your scalp if it's being more exposed, especially if you're losing hair. And then you want to nourish from within. So any kind of anti-inflammatory foods. If you want to take omega-3, like fish oils, things like that. Hydration is super important when it comes to this as well. And then partnering with your provider. You want to see if maybe they can recommend a topical steroid if it's really, really bad with the hair loss, or maybe even adding in a biotin supplement. The only reason I say partner with your provider there is because sometimes you can do too much biotin, and then that can cause other problems. So definitely ask your provider before you start a supplement. And then there's a couple shampoos and stuff that I looked up, and then I'll tell you what worked for me. These seem to come up as like the top ones for this. So there's the Vanicream shampoo and conditioner, which is no fragrance, no sulfates or harsh chemicals. There's Neutrogena, which helps if there's any irritation or flaking. And then CeraVe, I love their stuff for lotion, and even shampoo or scalp treatment is amazing. It's super lightweight, really great for sensitive skin. Now, this Super Goop, I've never heard of this before, but it says it's a great sun protectant without greasiness. So I might have to try it this summer. And then there's the minoxidil, which I keep seeing this come up in support groups. And so I wanted to look a little more into it. So it is a supplement to help with hair regrowth. And again, if you're going to start a supplement, make sure you talk to your provider. So what personally worked for me was the Nioxin shampoo and conditioner. They have 6 levels depending on where your hair loss is at, and they even have color safe options. So if you have colored hair or you dye your hair often or anything like that, they actually have color treating options as well. I think I was on, I want to say level 5. Mine was coming out in clumps, to the point where I was seeing scalp after I would take a shower. I also started on biotin pills. Nature Made is my personal favorite as far as vitamins go. And so that's what I had started on that. Just the basic biotin, nothing over the top. I did buy a wig at one point, and we will get to that here in a second when I show you pictures. And then as far as ponytails go, I limited them as much as possible. And if I did wear a ponytail, I tried to make it as loose as I could with still keeping it out of my face. And I would also braid my hair when I would sleep, to limit the tugging and pulling while I was sleeping. So before I go on to this next slide, I'm hoping I don't get emotional about this, but for me, the hair loss was more than just hair loss. And I know people say it's just hair, it'll grow back, you're pretty without hair, you don't need the hair, and anything like that. But when you're going through something like that and you're going through these so many changes in your body and you can't explain why, it's really hard to listen to people when they're saying things like that. So these next slides are, well, this next slide is pictures of my journey. And it's hard for me to look at, but it's important that I share this with you because I don't think a lot of people are very transparent. And I want to be as transparent as possible with you in these Friday facts. And so here we go. So you've seen this picture before, that bottom left one. This was on 80 milligrams of prednisone, tapering down. And this is when my hair really started to fall out. And I got to a point where I didn't want to go to work. I didn't want to be seen out in public. I didn't look in a mirror for several months because I didn't recognize the person in the mirror. I didn't feel like myself. I felt like a completely different person. I felt weak. I felt useless. All of these things. And on top of that, physically, my appearance changing, mentally, I didn't want to look in the mirror. I didn't want to see myself. I didn't want to look at myself. I didn't want to even pretend to say that, oh, it's getting better. Or, oh, this looks better. Like, I avoided mirrors at all costs. This is also when, well, COVID hit around this time, but also I started doing grocery pickup because I didn't want to go in the grocery store. I didn't want to be looked at. I didn't want to be pointed at. I didn't want to have to explain myself to anybody, even though probably nobody was going to ask me. But I just felt like I had a big sign above me that's like, look at her, there's something wrong with her, kind of thing. And so I just avoided it. I avoided the public at all costs. So now I was diagnosed in July of 2021. And as you can see in the picture above that, the wedding picture of my beautiful friend Erin, I called her and said, hey, I know I'm supposed to be a bridesmaid. I don't want to be in the wedding. And she asked me why. And I said, because my face is swollen, my weight is fluctuating, I have no hair, like I'm going to ruin your wedding. And sorry. And what she said to me was, I would rather you be there and be in it because I want you there versus you not. And She said, I don't care how you look. You're still beautiful. You're my friend. And she's like, I just want you there. And so I sucked it up. I tried to find a wig, and I'm wearing a wig in that picture, actually. And I was in the wedding and I did it. And yeah, there were some, I'm sure, some comments made. I didn't hear about it, and that doesn't matter. But I did it and I showed up. And that was so hard for me. But in that moment, knowing that somebody was there, besides my husband and besides my family, like, that my friend was like, I don't care. She's like, you're there for me. I love you and I want you there. And so to have her be there for me, even though when I should be there for her on her day, was just something so amazing. And I'm so glad I did it, because I wouldn't have changed that for the world to be there for her. But it was one of the hardest things I ever did. I cried the whole car ride there, and I cried the whole car ride home, because all I could think about was, I tried to avoid as many pictures as possible. I tried to be on the sidelines of things, and things like that. But, we got this picture. I love this picture. It's probably one of my favorite pictures, but it definitely reminds me of a time when life just sucked at the time. And so there's that. And then, as you can see, we move forward in the pictures. The top row is, I finally reached out to somebody local to me who does hair extensions. And I said, hey, my hair is falling out. I don't know if you can help me, but I want to talk to you. And so I made an appointment with her, and we sat down, and I started crying, and I was like, this is what's going on. I don't know. I don't want to go out in public. I don't even look like myself anymore. I haven't looked in a mirror in months. Like, I don't know if you can help me or not. And she looked at me and she said, can I show you something? And I said, sure. And she grabbed the top of her hair and she pulled her wig off. And she had like a short buzz cut. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, I didn't even know that was a wig. That's amazing. Like, what happened? And so she shared her journey with me. And she had some issues with some medications that she was taking that had caused her hair to fall out. And she said, I shaved it off, and this is where I'm at. And she was like, I want to help you. She's like, it's going to be hard and it's going to be a challenge for me, but she's like, I want to do it. And so we made the plan. She did hand tied extensions. If you guys don't know what that is, it's where you slip a little bead on your hair, and with that, they like weave the extensions in and out of it and like clip them in. So it's a lot of work. It's super detailed, and she was amazing. And the whole time she was just like, you are beautiful. I want to support you. I'm so glad I can make you feel like yourself again. And so you can see the picture of me in the red shirt. That's that line of where she put all the extensions in. You can't even tell. When I put my hair down, it looked amazing. Like, nobody could tell I had extensions in. I felt so great. And my face started to decrease in swelling. And so that was a really awesome transformation. And so, I was in extensions, excuse me, for probably about 2-ish years or so. And the bottom row, as you can see, the far left picture is with the extensions in. I got a mommy makeover. I was expecting my second daughter, and she surprised me with wanting to give me some color back in my hair since I hadn't done anything for myself in a while. And this was the pictures. And then I told her, I said, hey, I want to have these done I want my hair long for our maternity pictures. I didn't get to do maternity pictures with my first daughter. I was like, I would love to be able to do this. And so we did the maternity pictures, and then I said, I want my extensions out before I deliver my second daughter. And so that final picture is in September of 2023, is the last time I had hair extensions in. And as you can see today, my hair is crazy long. It's doing well. It's so amazing that I can do this. And I just wanted to share this with you guys because I think visually it helps see that it is a process. It can be a mental battle. It is for sure an emotional battle. And so I just want to let you know that, if you are losing your hair and you're tired of hearing people say it's just hair, and you know what you can say to them is, you're right, it is just hair, but it means something more to me than that. And so I invite you, if you want to talk about it, that's great. If you don't, that's totally fine. I hope seeing this, and I hope the tips and tricks that I was able to give you can bring you some comfort and maybe help you out in the long run. So as always, thank you everybody for tuning into this. I'm sorry my voice is shot. I hope you can hear this video. If it's really, really bad, I'm still going to post it, but maybe I'll recap it when my voice isn't so terrible. So there's a couple pauses throughout the video. I hope that's not terrible. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'm so excited to continue this with next week, and stay tuned.